Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for being here. My name is Anna Johnson, and I am the content manager at the Institute of Culinary Education. Welcome to this installment of our guest lecture series. As a reminder, this demonstration is being broadcast. Hi, YouTube watchers. So if you are watching online, please post questions into the YouTube chat and we'll ask them live to Chef Bret. And for students and staff here today, please wait for the microphone. We'll pass it around to you so that we can all hear your questions when you ask them. Our goal in this series of demos and lectures is to highlight the culinary excellence of contemporary chefs and culinary entrepreneurs. Recently, we have hosted Chef Douglas Rankin of Barchaloo and Ellen Bennett of Headley and Bennett. Our guest today is Bret Thompson, the chef and owner of Pez Coastal Kitchen in Pasadena. Chef Bret began his career at California Culinary Academy in San Francisco. He then went on to work at renowned establishments, including Aqua in San Francisco, Roy's in Hawaii, and Pinot Blanc in St. Helena, California. Chef Bret then traveled to Spain, where he studied under Michelin-starred chef Martin Berasategui at his acclaimed restaurant in Barcelona. Chef Bret then headed to Beirut, Lebanon, where he partnered in a restaurant venture at Atlas Cafe. He further honed his craft, learning from culinary legend Chef Bernard Loiseau at 3 Michelin-starred La Côte d'Or in France, and at La Pege, Chef Alain Pissard's Michelin 3-star establishment in Paris. Chef Bret also spent significant time at the Patina Group, where he held yes, we give it up for the Patina Group, where he held various roles, including corporate executive chef. Additionally, after co-founding the iconic Milk Ice Cream Parlor and Bake Shop in Los Angeles, he launched his own market restaurant and catering, which he successfully sold in 2014. In 2015, Chef Bret joined forces with his wife, Lucy Thompson-Ramirez, to create a culinary haven at Pez Cantina. In 2024, the two opened Pez Coastal Kitchen, which offers a unique blend of California coastal cuisine, thoughtfully crafted cocktails, a curated selection of wines, and craft beers. He has been very busy. Please join me, everyone, in welcoming Chef Bret Thompson.
Thank you. Thanks, Anna. Am I on? Can you guys hear me? Wow, all that happened? It's a lot of stuff. Well, thank you so much for having me this morning. It's really an honor to be here. I was bugging Michelle for a while, like, hey, I want to do a demo. I love cooking. I love teaching. I was telling Chef Rouse earlier, like, maybe it'd be kind of cool to do like a part-time thing at, here at some point. Who knows? But thanks, man. I'm very familiar with your culinary school. I live in San Gabriel. My lovely wife, Lucy, and I raised our two sons, Levi, who's 18, and Luke, who's 15, in San Gabriel here. So this is our backyard. I won't get too much into the past because I think she went over that already. But I think I grew up around a family who, well, my mom was not the greatest cook. My mom, Jewish, my dad, Christian. And why does that matter? Well, besides the bickering of like religions, which is kind of weird as a kid, my mom did kind of raise me around a lot of like Ashkenazi Jewish cuisine, which if you guys ever, if you have like a favorite deli, like Brent's Deli in the San Fernando Valley was my favorite. There's not a lot of like great like those New York style delis anymore, but that I kind of ate a lot of that as a kid. And my dad, he was definitely the better cook growing up. He and my uncle would always do like a big old pot of like lobster cioppino on New Year's Eve. My uncle was like this huge Polish Italian guy who really good cook and loved to cook like extravagant meals. So I didn't really necessarily come up like in a family, certainly not in a restaurant business, but like even like having, parents who really cooked a lot. So, but oddly enough, so I grew up in Chatsworth in the San Fernando Valley. And oddly enough, there was this butcher shop that was in our neighborhood. I used to walk to the arcade, play pinball there and stuff. Remember pinball machines? Some of us do. And there was a butcher shop there. And I was always fascinated about butchery. I don't know why. I just love to go in there. I guess I loved eating and I love seeing like all these beautifully prepared meats and stuff like that. And so I showed an interest in that. Parents split. I moved to San Clemente with my mom, San Clemente in Orange County on the beach, and I got a job at this really, really great butcher shop. It's still there. I think it's called Bill's or Billy's Butcher Shops on Del Mar. And I was working for these two Hawaiian guys, and they showed me so much. They showed me, I mean, we really worked a lot with seafood. And then, so about 2 months later, they sold it to this guy named Bill. And he had worked for a large market chain, and so like a Ralph's or something like that, it was called Hughes, I think it was called the market. And so he showed me sort of like the supermarket way of butchery. So that was like really my first launch into like cooking. And I loved butchery. I just really got into it. Curing, smoking, making like hundreds of pounds of sausage all the time. It was an amazing experience. And I had a customer who'd come in. She says she was French. She'd say, Bret, you seem so passionate about what you were doing. You should really consider going to cooking school. So I took her up on that, and I had a GSXR 750 Suzuki bike at the time, and flew up to SF on the 5 freeway and went to the seminar there, and I loved it, and came back and sold my bike and moved up to San Francisco. And it was an amazing, amazing experience. The California Culinary Academy was where I went. 1992, 1993. It was an amazing restaurant scene. I know San Francisco is going through some challenges, but I think it's still a very great food city, Bay Area, wine country. There's just so much going on there. So that was really the beginning for me, and I didn't look back. I found something that I played baseball all my life. I was always loved being on a team, loved wearing a uniform, and I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I like doing what I do. I'm kind of like the coach now, I guess. I just love being the leader of our kitchen. I love teaching young students, and I love the art of cooking. Simply. I mean, my friends will say like, "Well, do you go home and cook at home?" I'm like, hell yeah, almost every night I do. Well, if I'm not at the restaurant, I love cooking. I don't get sick of it. There's nothing more gratifying than cooking with my wife with a glass of Pinot Noir and showing my sons like how to put a great skin on a crispy chicken, or how to identify, like we have herbs all around our house everywhere. Hey Luke, can you go grab some garlic chives? Hey Levi, can you go grab some rosemary, some sage? What's that again, Poppy? So I got to remind them, but it's really great. And I just I think that if it wasn't such a passion for me of cooking, I don't think I could do this, because it's a hard industry, and but I love it so much, and I love the art of it so much. Unfortunately, nowadays I'm kind of like, I've got 2 restaurants now. So we also have another restaurant in downtown Los Angeles called Pez Cantina. Pez Cantina we opened up 10 years ago, and it's a Baja California style seafood restaurant and bar. Kind of got our inspiration doing that from, we go fishing a lot down in Loreto. Loreto's a cute little fishing town near La Paz, near Cabo San Lucas. We go there once a year for the last 20 years. And after one trip, we came back with a ton of mahi-mahi and said, oh, we should open a fish taco restaurant in Los Angeles. And we ended up opening a 170-seat restaurant on Bunker Hill almost 11 years ago. So that's kind of how it started, Pez. Pez means fish in Spanish, like a live fish, like un pez, not pescado. That would mean like a fillet of fish. We've been doing that for 10 years. And then a couple of years ago, I said, look, I'm ready to do something else. Done some little projects in the interim, and decided to open up Pez Coastal Kitchen in Pasadena. I knew the landlord there. If you guys don't know where it is, please come by and check it out. It's on Raymond and Union. It used to be Slater's 50/50. We completely just changed the space, redesigned it. Kind of looks like Casablanca, Tulum. It's a really beautiful Mediterranean open space with lots of landscape and lots of bright colors. It's really gorgeous. Open kitchen. We've got an oyster bar, shellfish bar, and we focus on seasonal seafood. Kind of changing with the seasons. So that's I guess a good segue to what we're doing today. I love cooking seasonal food. Right now, if you look at my text to my produce guy, it's like, hey, what's in season? What's coming up? Asparagus right now, zucchini blossoms, fava beans coming soon, nettles, ramps. These little flowers here, these are called nasturtiums. And I picked these. I have right near my house is a little field, and I pick all kinds of herbs and flowers. I pick, like right now, if you look around, it's funny because you only know what they are unless you like know what they are, right? But you know, there's these little like flowers that grow on lots of lawns. They're bright yellow and they're kind of sour. It's called wood sorrel, and I didn't even know actually it was even edible until my wife, she's Mexican. She's like, oh yeah, you know, when we were living in Guanajuato, they used to eat these when they were walking around. I'm like, are you sure? Like you're still alive? So I try one, and they're amazing. I go foraging a lot for stuff. So actually, this is another herb we're using right now. It's called lemon verbena. It's got a kind of a lemony scent. It's not sour, but it sort of just has a lemony scent. And so this is one of the herbs we're going to use today. I'm going to put that in the fish stock to kind of let it sort of just infuse a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I love cooking seasonal. And so the dish we're going to do today is, well, it's a little bit wintry, I would say, but it's got a cool story behind it. It's going to be a crispy skin Pacifico sea bass. Okay, so Pacifico sea bass, this specific fish, I've actually swam in the farm with the fish down in Ensenada. Off the coast of Ensenada, about 7 miles off, it's an aquaculture farm, and they raise these fish. They raise the little mini, I don't know if they call polywogs, whatever they're called, in little tanks. And then once they're big enough, they bring them out to these massive, like huge, like round, if you've ever driven down like past like TJ, when you get down there, you can kind of see some of them down there. They're like probably 300 yards in diameter, and they go way down. I don't even know how far down. So they raise these in these beautiful, it's aquaculture. And people think, okay, aquaculture, well, it's farm raised is bad. I only eat wild. I totally disagree. The feed is amazingly clean. It's all like made with seafood. There's nothing in there that's like fillers or making the color different. You know, I have a friend who raises Campachi down in La Paz who said something. He said, look, how long are we going to sweep our oceans of wild fish until there is no more wild fish? We need to change over at some point. We need to adapt to aquaculture. And for those of us who love seafood, I love seafood. I eat seafood probably 5 nights a week. Like I'm a huge proponent of figuring out how to sustainably raise fish, aquaculture. And so this is very sustainably raised. So that's the fish we're using. And I'm going to show you how to put a really crispy skin on the fish as well. If I have skin on an animal, if I'm cooking skin on an animal, I want it to be crispy. There are exceptions. I'll cook I'll put chicken in like the matzo ball soup for Passover. And my kids are like, oh my God, Poppy, how do you eat that flabby skin? I don't know. I love it. I just like the fattiness of it, the chewiness of it. I know it's kind of weird, but in this case, we're going to saute it and we're going to get it really, really crispy. Okay. Now the whole dish we're doing today, it's kind of an Alsatian inspired dish. There's a brasserie over in Paris. It's called Beaufinger. It looks like Bowfinger, Bofingr. And we went there and I fell in love with the place. I love these old like brasseries that have been open since the 1800s. And they served a dish. It was kind of just like a pile of sauerkraut with like this kind of flabby piece of sea bass on top. Very, very, it was not really a great dish, well executed, but they gave me the idea of like, oh, wow, this is really great. So I took that dish and kind of, just sort of elaborated on it and did my own version of it. So crispy skin sea bass. We've got sauerkraut here. And we've got marble potatoes, these guys here, which I'm actually going to pop in the oven and start getting them hot now. And these were pre-steamed. I guess Chef did them. Did we do them in the combi oven or did we do them in a straight steam? Okay. So we've got the sauerkraut, we've got the marble potatoes, and we're going to do a sauce that's kind of like a nage. And a nage basically, it means swim in French, but it also means like a stock. And the base of the nage is going to be fish stock, and then we've got kielbasa, garlic, shallots, butter, of course, and then we're going to finish with trout roe and chives. So it's a really cool dish, smoky, salty, rich, and then we're going to garnish it. We're going to bring the spring in with the nasturtiums. Okay, so let's get started. Any questions so far? Okay, I'm keeping my eye on the clock so I know I got till 1, right? Okay, sweet, nice. All right, so I'm going to start with the sauce because it takes probably the longest to make. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to make enough for one portion, but I'm also going to make enough for all y'all to taste. We just did this dish actually for Generous Plates, an event supporting Union Station homeless in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl for 250 people. And so it's funny because we were talking on the phone the other day. She was like, oh, is that a big number to do, 50, 60 people for this? I said, no, it's okay. We can, the challenge is like, how do we get the skin crispy? That's like one of the things that shine on this dish is keeping the skin crispy. And so in the restaurant, the secret is, we cook the skin and it goes immediately on the plate and immediately to the table. You don't hold it. For a big event like for 500 to 250, it's difficult, because you want to cook everything ahead of time and you want to put it in a holding table and then it steams and it gets soft and you kind of lose that. So what we did was we ended up just like doing kind of just like finishing a cook's finishing in the back and just putting it on the dish at the very last second, and it just got swept out to the dining room really quickly. So another thing is we do a lot of pickling, fermenting, that kind of stuff at the restaurant. For making like the fresh like homemade sauerkraut, what we do is we take it's 10 pounds of cabbage to 3 ounces of salt and cabbage, and you mix it in a very, very clean environment, vacuum pack it, and you put it for 4 weeks at 70 degrees in a dark room. So 70 degrees, dark room, completely sealed, and there is no vinegar added to the sauerkraut, and it ferments. We also do like a giardiniera at the restaurant, and the giardiniera is basically like carrots and celery and onions and peppers, and it goes out salty, kind of sour. And that fermentation process only takes like 3 or 4 days, and all we do is add salt, same ratio to the vegetables, and miraculously it ferments. It's just got to be at the right temperature, and it's got to be clean. I've done sauerkraut before where I put it in the container and I've opened it after 4 weeks and it is like powdery mold, and all that work is gone. So you really like clean. Now nowadays we have vacuum pack sealers, that kind of stuff. It makes it a lot easier because there's no oxygen. Oxygen is like the enemy of this. You want to make sure there's no oxygen at all. Does that make sense? Is that like a fermentation kind of cabinet or something like that? Or I noticed that earlier. Do you guys do any fermentation here? I know that, yeah, it's really fun. I love doing it. It's kind of cool, and it's just sort of a new thing. And, not new, but I think it's new for us. Although people have been doing it for a long time. So to get things started, I'm going to add some butter to the pan. And this is kielbasa. Kielbasa can be made, I know there's beef kielbasa. Was that all the kielbasa, or did you guys save any over there? That's all, okay. The kielbasa we use at the restaurant is a combination of pork and beef. And what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of sweat down the kielbasa in the butter. I just kind of want to get a little bit, not brown, but just kind of sweat it down and kind of soft, and get a little bit of caramelization on the meats. Now the kielbasa just provides a really nice salty, kind of smoky flavor to it. I don't make my own kielbasa, but it's like I grew up eating it. I love it. I love putting it like in stews. I love putting it in rice. It's a great salty ingredient. It's a great nice. You'll see in this dish that it's a nice pop when you're eating the sauerkraut and the smoke, and kind of like a little salty pop in there. So I'll let this sweat down a little bit. Now I've got this fish stock here. Chef was nice enough to give me the fish stock to provide that, but the fish stock that we make is basically kind of a traditional fish stock: mirepoix, carrot, onion, celery, bay leaf, thyme, garlic. We use like white, so halibut bones, and we'll cook it for about an hour or so and then strain it out. Sometimes we'll throw a squeeze an orange, throw it in there. Sometimes we'll put some fennel in there to kind of get that anise flavor. But and the fish stock, generally we'll let it go for like about 2 hours max. I don't really like to let it go for too long because I feel like you can sort of like maximize the flavors of the fish after like 2 hours, versus like a chicken stock, which I don't know what you guys learn here, 5-6 hours in a chicken stock. Veal stock, 8, 9, 10 hours, sometimes overnight, depends on the situation. Now this lemon verbena, I'm going to take it out because it smells so good. going to put it in here, and it just kind of flavored the fish stock. Now, the base of the sauce is it's like a butternage, we call it. Now, sometimes we'll do like a vegetable stock as the base. In this case, we're going to do a fish stock. Why? Because it's a fish dish. Now, what you're basically doing is you're taking like a stock and you're infusing butter into it, and then we're going to season it. Now, rather than like sitting there with a hand blender or putting it in the blender and just going one by one with the butter, I'll add almost all the butter I need for the sauce right now and boil it into it, and it's still going to be broken, right? Kind of broken. And then to emulsify it, we're going to take that, we're going to put it in here, we're going to add some like butter chunk by chunk, and the velocity of it and that slow incorporation of the butter is going to provide a permanent emulsification, at least for the dinner service you would have, right? So, all right, I'm going to put this in here. Actually, I think I have a little bit too much stock, so I'm going to put a little bit in here. Huh? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So again, I want to do kind of like about half butter and half stock. And then I'm going to incorporate the rest of it after in the blender. So I'm going to put this butter in here now. And let it come up. Okay, so now the kielbasa is, it's kind of like sizzling in the butter a little bit. Kind of see that. I don't want to brown the bottom too much, because if they brown the bottom of the pan too much, it's going to kind of get like, I don't want the sauce to be brown. I want the sauce to kind of stay like nice and kind of white and beige. So that's why I have the flame on low as well. Yeah, so like it's funny because it's like opposite of our kitchen. Everything's backwards. Okay, so now I've got shallot dice and I've got garlic dice. I'm going to sweat the shallot dice and the garlic dice with the kielbasa, and you can just imagine the flavor you're going to get, kind of just aromas. I love working with shallots. I think that's just maybe my French kind of training. Oh, thank you for the amazingly diced shallots. I don't think anyone's ever diced them that nice before. Thank you, chef. There's a reason why you're a chef. All right, and then the garlic. So I put in there about, again, I'm making enough for all the dishes. I put probably about 16 ounces or so. The chopped garlic, I'm going to put probably about 2 ounces per. I don't want it to be too overwhelmingly garlicky. And kind of just sweat that. But you can see it's just like really nice. It's just that beautiful. Let that go. Now the sauerkraut, at the restaurant, what we'll do is we'll have the sauerkraut, we'll heat it up, we'll put a little bit of fish stock, and we'll keep the sauerkraut on the line, the cooking line, so it's already kind of hot, right? So as we're like, when we're cooking at a restaurant, we want to like, I'm always saying like, try to bring everything like, 5-7 minutes away from being able to plate it. Otherwise you get behind. Depends on the dish, but just, so you can put the sauerkraut, keep it hot, and keep it steaming, and it's not going to sacrifice the quality of the product. Right? Make sense? Any questions yet? Can you guys smell anything? Yeah, good. Yeah.
How long did it take you to master this dish?
About 45 minutes. It's funny. Like someone asked me the other day, like, how do you come up with all these dishes? And I'm like, honestly, at this point, it's just like so much cooking, like just like over 2 decades. And I've worked with so many great chefs, and so many of the dishes I create nowadays are just basically just like, either it's a couple of concepts of something I've done in the past, or like if I'm doing a menu for spring, I'll be like, I'll literally go to Google and be like, spring vegetables and fruits, and I'll just look what comes up, and it's like, okay, and then like just because I'm like, maybe it's like I've been dealing with like I got called to the office. My son's at the principal's office, and I'm like in that kind of frame of mind, and I'm like, oh shit, sorry. Oh shoot, I've got to think about my spring menu. So I just got to like throw myself into like creativity mode. And even me, who's like cooked for so many years, like I need inspiration sometimes. You know, I just so simply just going to Google and I'll do that, or I'll pull. I have a lot of cookbooks. There's a thing they call cookbooks. You guys are like these like paper things we used to have. No, I have a lot of cookbooks. I actually saved. I collected cookbooks for a long time. And I go through them and kind of just go through my favorite ones and just kind of get some ideas. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I took the idea of that dish and I kind of just ran with it. You know, I love like sausage. I love kielbasa. I love sauerkraut. My mom used to make sauerkraut soup when I was a kid. It's kind of a weird dish, but y'all know what a roux is. So I don't think my mom really knew what a roux was at the time. She used to call it this German word. I think it's called iron rod, or I forgot. Anyone speak German here? But she would basically take like butter and chicken fat, and she would chicken fat and flour, and she would make a roux out of that. And she would take like water and sauerkraut, and she would just dump the sauerkraut into the roux without like tempering it slowly so you wouldn't get lumps. So unintentionally, she would get these lumps of like roux in the soup. But it was so good. I mean, like I don't think she knew, and it's little kind of like almost like little dumplings, I guess you could say, you know, kind of developed in the soup. It was really good. So, all right, so this is almost ready to go. The sauce is kind of boiling here. Yeah, I mean, so I have everything mise en place out. Mise en place, what an important thing, right? I can't tell you how important mise en place is, you guys. I mean, even with my life, I have mise en place. You know, it's like I'll get my kids' meals ready the night before. I'll get myself ready administratively as a business owner. I'll get my mise en place done. It's very, very important. So I have everything ready to go. I'm going to kind of turn off the back sauces a little bit right now because they're getting a little bit too brown. Steaming hot sauerkraut. Yeah.
It smells amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. Never too early for garlic. The first one I think of when you ask me that is Jean-Louis Paladin. I don't know. It's like kind of old school. He was a great chef from Chicago, Washington, D.C. Daniel Boulud. Daniel Boulud is a chef in New York. He's, you know, I love his style. You know, there's a chef named Roy Yamaguchi who I used to work for in Hawaii. He does a lot of like Hawaiian kind of stuff. And Lydia Bastianich, I think that's how you say her last name. She does like a lot of cool Italian stuff. I'll kind of break into that sometimes. Todd English, he's an old school chef. God, I feel like all these chefs, I'm like, where are they now? Kind of weird. So, yeah, but good question. Do you have cookbooks? Do we still like use them in school at all? Or like, do you distribute cookbooks or we just do digital? We have a library. I've seen the library. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Do you guys use that library at all or just basically, yeah, good. Yeah. There's nothing like pulling out like books. I know. I don't know. No, I guys, I have a millennial son and what's the generation now? Gen Z. No. Alpha. Wait, what would 15-year-old be? Alpha or Z? Alpha. I got an alpha. Gen Z. Okay, I had a Z and an alpha. Or no, I got a Z and an alpha. Oh, okay, yeah.
Chef, I have a question if you have a moment.
Yeah.
Me. What made you want to open a second Pez, like another outpost after Pez Cantina?
Right? What makes you want to like do that?
Yeah,
and, like,
why'd you do it?
Sacrifice all of your personal time and you know, well, I gotta say, like I you know, we have a restaurant in downtown Los Angeles that's Pez Cantina, and it is it's a Baja California coastal driven restaurant, and I love making Mexican food and actually have a good knack at it. I'm not Mexican at all. My wife is from Guanajuato, and I grew up with Mexicans, I think, working in kitchens in Los Angeles for many years. So I really love Mexican food, and we travel down there a lot. I was really itching to do something different, and we were going to do cantina here actually, but we decided like kind of like halfway through, like, nope, scratch that. Let's kind of just do like a global approach on seafood. And so did that. And I don't know, it's fun. I mean, I like the whole process. I'm going to add the nage to this, with the butter nage to the blender. I like the whole process. The design process is also very, very fun. So basically we hired this great designer. Her name's Margie Drews. And she told Lucy and I, hey, look, just give me a mood board of what you guys are envisioning, and I'll make it come to life. And so, we basically gave her like a lot of cool ideas in terms of like what we're looking for, tile, colors, kind of inspirations. And she proposed a lot of really, 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 really expensive things to us. We're like, whoa, kind of tone it down a little bit. So, and so the design process is actually really, really fun process as well. Okay, so I've got the butter nage in here. It's a lot of butter, and then you can see it's broken, right? So we're just gonna carefully turn this on slowly. And so I'm gonna come once the sauce is ready, I'm gonna mount the sauce with some butter. We might need a little more butter, maybe not. Do we have any more butter? I'm sure we have somewhere, but I think we're good at the moment, but just in case. I'm gonna mount the sauce, and you can see how creamy it's looking already. So I'm just gonna add a few more. I should kind of show you also, I guess. Okay, so before I do that, so it's pretty thin, right? The sauce, you see how thin it is? So the butter is it's called mounting it. We're gonna mount the butter in there. It's gonna thicken it up. And now when you're doing this sauce, though, what you don't want to do is if you can boil it after you mount it, but oh, thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. Yeah, after you mount the butter in there, you can boil the sauce, but if you boil it too much, it'll break. And if it breaks, you can always see what happens is that if you boil the sauce to the point where you're basically, because you need a certain amount of water, right? Water meaning stock, right? And if you boil it too much, you're evaporating the water. The fat stays in here, right? You can't evaporate fat, so it'll break because it just can't hold the amount of fat anymore. So you can add more stock to it, and then you can kind of reboil it and go through the whole process again. But if you break it while it's in the sauce with this kielbasa and all the goodies, then you got to strain it out because you want to blend that in there, right? Make sense? Okay, so if I'm going too fast, please let me know, you guys. I know it's kind of like my wife always tells me don't assume everyone knows what you're talking about. So, and I just need it to go. It's very hot. The butter is kind of incorporating slowly in there. I do think I need a little bit more. So we don't we don't cook with a lot of butter at the restaurant. I mean, we do. Annika's like, yeah, right. We do cook with a lot of butter. It depends on the dish, though. I don't really. I like to kind of cook like I like to eat, which is kind of healthy. Like we do a lot of olive oil, kind of a Mediterranean diet in a way. But sometimes if I'm going to use butter, I'm going to use butter. I'm just going to go at it full force, and a dish like this really comes together nicely, with the butter. You guys ever make a sauce like this before? No. It's very, very easy. You see how simple it is. When I was working with patina restaurants, that's where I first learned how to make a nage, and we would use nage for everything. And so I kind of kept it in my repertoire, but just one of the sauces we did. All right, so make sure that it's nice and combined. So I haven't added any salt and pepper yet. I'm going to kind of add the salt and pepper to the sauce at the end. So obviously you can see how much volume has increased in the container. It's nice and thick. It's not where I want it to be. It is going to reduce a little bit in that pot right there as we kind of add everything else to the sauce. So I think that's probably where I want it to be. So I'm going to add half of that to each dish, to each sauce. All right, I think that's good. Chef, thank you for the butter. I'm going to put the rest of it over here. Okay, so now let's talk about getting crispy skin fish. So potatoes are almost ready. So the potatoes are going to go into the sauce as well. At the restaurant, we just, kind of important to talk about is like when you're doing, and I know that a European-based kitchen versus a Thai-based kitchen versus a Chinese, Italian, every kitchen's kind of set up differently, right? I would say our kitchen tends to lean like more European in the way it's set up, and which has a lot of different pans, like, so we'll do pan sauces but you don't want to complicate it too much where you have like 3 or 4 different pans per dish because you can't keep up. It's very difficult. So that's one of the reasons why this sauce, what we'll do is we'll have the kielbasa. We're going to put trout roe in there and some chives, and the potatoes are going to go into the sauce as well. So the sauce kind of envelops the potatoes. And that case, we have basically the sauerkraut, the fish, and the sauce, only 3 things, right? So you don't want to overcomplicate it with 2 different things because you could do the potatoes in a separate pan and the kielbasa in a separate pan, and it's just too many things to think about. When you got like your ticket board is completely full. Actually, nowadays we have a screen, which is nice, no more tickets. It's just a lot for the cooks to manage. Okay, so when you're creating a dish in a restaurant, I think it's really, really important that you think about how do I execute that dish. How can I create that dish to be executed in a timely manner, right? Because you've got this dish, but then you've got a ravioli and you got lamb meatballs and you got the octopus dish. You got so many things going on at one time. You got to think about how we can get that out to the table quickly and delicious. All right, so I'm going to turn off the sauerkraut because it's probably really hot. So you can see the sauce is kind of coming together. It's sort of just chunky and it's a little bit beige, the color. It smells so good. Now I'm going to kind of just simmer the sauces really, really slow. Like I said, if I boil it, there's a chance that it'll break. Okay, so let's talk about crispy skin fish. So I'm a fanatic of doing crispy skin fish. It's very, very simple. Obviously, no scales. We order the fish at the restaurant. This particular fish, filet PBO, pin bone out, and scaled. So you can order the fish. I mean, as fabricated as you want. I like to fabricate my own stuff, but sometimes, just if it's cost effective, if it just makes sense, like if it's cost effective or if you can't use the scraps or the byproduct, then just get it like this. So scales off, there's no pin bones on there. Another good thing to do for the fish is make sure it's dry. The drier the skin, the easier it is to crisp up. Because basically when you're crisping up any skin, like whether it's like chicken or fish, you're pulling out the water out of the skin. The more water you can pull out of it and the more fat you can render out of it, the crispier like a potato chip it becomes, okay? Now, another thing is I don't like to season. Like sometimes, we've done large events and, I'll ask a cook like, hey, look, you're in charge of seasoning the fish. And all of a sudden they season the fish like an hour before we start. I'm like, oh my God. Because what happens is that if you look at the fish about 10 minutes after you season it, little water droplets are kind of forming on top of the skin and the meat because you're pulling out the water, right? So kind of the enemy here is water. So I always like to season at the last second and then crispy skin it right away. You know what I don't have, guys? Yes. Oil. Thank you. And so just any like neutral oil. Here you go. Thanks, chef. I'm good. I don't need any more. And I don't need that much oil, just like a little bit. I'm going to kick off those sauces. So just a little neutral oil and not too much. It's just like, it's actually a little bit too much right there, but I'm not deep frying it. I see a nice like thin layer on here. And a nonstick pan is really the way to go. So make sure that a couple things. Make sure the pan is really, really hot. I don't put the oil too far in advance. I don't like to heat up the oil in the pan. I feel like if you heat the oil in the pan, it kind of gets a burn flavor. So the oil goes in the pan when the pan is hot. And then add the fish skin side down. Put the fish away from you. I actually had I burned myself one time. I was putting a product in the pan and the fish kind of flapped towards me and went on my lip. Hurt, yeah. I won't do that again. And so when you're crisping up the skin, you want to turn it to like about a medium low flame. You want it to go slow. You don't want to like go too fast because basically what you want to do is you want to get like a nice, even kind of like crispiness, right? At the restaurant also, we have weights and we'll, especially when we're flying, we have like 6 pans on, we'll season it. I'm going to season the other side as well. And when you're seasoning the fish or seasoning anything, kind of, I always like to say like, I think people who are not very experienced yet will like kind of just like season like, just like, well, you can't do that. You got to really kind of like season it from above and make sure it's an even distribution of the seasoning. Otherwise, it's going to be salty in one area and not the other. So as I was saying, we have these weights we put on there, not very heavy, but it just ensures that, because when this, I don't know if it's hard to see here, but like when you put the fish in the pan, and not all fish do this, but they tend to go from flat to like they seize up like this. So basically just the edges of the fish are on there and the middle's up here. And so this kind of curve here is not getting crispy. So you want it to like lay flat. So if you push it down, put a little bit of weight on it, now it's kind of relaxed and it's kind of sitting in the pan flat. And now I just want to go really, really slow. Now I'm going to cook this fish like probably like 80% on the skin side and flip it over. Actually, the restaurant we'll do is we'll just take it like this. Once it's almost ready, we'll throw it in the salamander, the cheese melter, and it'll heat it up from the top. And then it takes like 30 seconds done. So I'm gonna let this go really, really slow. All right, these potatoes are pretty hot. So these are called marble potatoes. I love them because they're cute and pretty and easy to cook. And so I'm gonna pop them in the sauce. So at the restaurant, we'll actually we'll start the potatoes in a pan with fish stock first to kind of heat the potatoes up, and then we'll add the nage. Because if you add the nage, you can't cook the potatoes through. You can't get them hot enough with the nage because it'll break. So the fish stock kind of acts as like a heating element, and then you add the nage to it. So the fish, again, if you're like really busy in the restaurant or whatever you're doing, and the fish can just stay on like a low medium heat and kind of just sit there and chill and chill and chill and just kind of get crispier and crispier. How are you? I'm good. So it's what you don't want is this. You don't want it to be flaming hot like this because you're gonna burn it. So at this heat right here, kind of like a low medium heat, you can't go wrong. It can pretty much sit there for like 10 minutes and just get better and better, right? Are you guys doing the little portions back there? Oh my God, I thought I was gonna have to do all those small ones over here as well. I was like, okay. Thank you guys. So I think like 1 potato per person should be good, right? So, okay, the potatoes are hot. Now, I'm gonna season the sauce right now with salt and pepper. When you're seasoning anything, the way I think about seasoning is basically like do it in layers, right? Season it like 75% of the way through. If you over season something, it's done, right? You can't, it's hard to fix it. You got to like basically add a bunch of stuff, just bulk it up. But if you're seasoning it in layers, it's like you taste it, you're like almost there, a little more, almost there, a little more, almost there. If I'm making a soup, I literally will season it like the initial 50%, boom, it's done. And then you're trying it like a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And keeping in mind also that the salt takes a little while to dissolve, especially when you're making a huge batch of soup. So the salt might taste great, and all of a sudden it actually coming through really strong at that point, and it's over seasoned. So just do it in layers. That makes sense? Black pepper, just a little note, like I love like first of all, never pre-mix salt and pepper. Sometimes I'll find in the back kitchen like they pre-mix it just because they're lazy. But you never want, you want different salts, different quantities of salt and pepper per dish, right? So keep it separate. The pepper should be freshly cracked. Also not too big, not too coarse. This is a little bit coarse, but this actually kind of works on the dish. I like the pepperiness in the sauce. The one thing I don't have here that we put on the restaurant is we put like a little spice mix of, I'm going to add a little bit of the stock because it's kind of thick, the butter. We make a spice mix for the top that's made out of, I guess, flavors you would associate with that part of France, like coriander toasted, fennel seed toasted, coriander, fennel, black pepper. It's kind of like a dust we put on there at the very end. Okay, so the fish is definitely ready. Everybody know what a fish spatula is? Although I'm using a nonstick pan, you shouldn't use metal in a nonstick pan, so I'm going to be very, very careful. I don't want to like PO chef here. But you can see how it's getting nice and crispy, nice and brown. But you can see those little pockets of like softness there. So I'm not really happy with that quite yet. And it's because there's not enough fat in the pan. So I'm going to put a little bit more fat. In the restaurant, we usually use like a neutral oil, like a blend of like 75% canola and 25% extra virgin olive oil. That's kind of the oil we use for all of our general cooking, sauteing. I never really cook like something like this with extra virgin olive oil because you don't really need to. It's just a waste of money because it's too high quality for that, you know? All right, so I'm going to kick on these sauces again in the back. Now, I'm going to try the sauces for a salt and pepper. Does anyone here work in a restaurant besides Annika? Yeah? You guys are like line cooks? Prep cooks? Sous chef? Where do you work at? Where? Oh, La Mirada, yeah. Do you golf? Sweet, it's a good sport. What about you? Where? Oh, okay. Yeah, you look really familiar. Have we met before? No? Okay, I don't know. He's like, I don't think so. It was Starbucks that one day. Remember 2 weeks ago? Just kidding. Just kidding, man.
Chef, whenever
you know, it's funny because when I went to school, cooking school, I got there. I'm like, clarified butter, what's that? I didn't know anything. It was so, now that I think about it, it was so funny. And I got a job at a restaurant called Aqua. And anyone know who Michael Mina is? So Michael Mina was my sous chef at Aqua. No one knew him. He was not a big chef. And the food we were doing there was like, it was insane. We got Michael Bauer of the San Francisco Chronicle said they're making space food. And it was a great experience. And while working and going to school at the same time, I think it totally excelled my experience in the school. It really kind of helped me kind of advance, you know. All right, so the skin looks pretty good, you guys. You see that beautiful brownness? Now, it's very, very crispy. And so essentially what I'm doing is I'm just taking out all the water and all the fat from there and just kind of keeping the protein, which gets crispy. Okay, the sauce is very good. I'm gonna put a little more salt, pepper in there. Okay, cool. So The last thing that's going in the sauce is going to be trout roe. So if you're familiar with trout roe, if not, maybe you're more familiar with like salmon roe, ikura. It's very, very mild. It's not fishy. We use it because it tastes amazing. It looks amazing. And it's just a really nice addition to the sauce. And so what we'll do is we'll add this to the sauce at the very last second. I don't want to cook the eggs because they'll get really ugly and pale. So basically at the very last second, we add this and we're going to add the chives. Anytime I put herbs in a sauce, unless I'm stewing the herb like I did for the lemon verbena, kind of get the flavor in there, I want the herb to be really bright, the color, the flavor to be really bright. And if you add it too soon into the sauce, you lose that, right? So the trout roe just goes right in there, and we use quite a bit of it. I mean, this is a kind of a big batch here, but trout roe, it's really great because it adds a lot to the sauce. It's not very expensive. It's also really sustainable. A lot of the companies now, like a lot of these companies that are doing caviar, they're actually able to like put the fish to sleep and open the fish up and take out the eggs and sew it back up and put it back in water and have it continue to reproduce. It's a pretty common thing now. What's that? I guess it's kind of sad, maybe. I don't know. Is that sad? Oh, sorry. That was sad for her. Sorry. Well, I didn't mean to offend anybody, but it's kind of crazy. It's better that than killing them, or no? I don't know. Maybe not. I claim the fifth on this one. Oh, really? I'm just cooking the damn dish, all right? All right, so the trout roe's in there. All right, then we're going to add a lot of chives. All right, so you can see it's just it's maybe a little too chunky. I'm going to add a little stock to it, a little sauce. But you see that, no one's going to complain about not having enough stuff in there, right? Yeah, it looks really nice. But you see the specks of the green, the specks of the orange in the sauce. It's really nice. So I'm adding a little bit more to this, guys. So we do a lot of large catering events, and when you're doing a large catering events, you just kind of have to continue to adapt as you go and kind of just work with it. So it's always nice to have your tools. In this case, my tool is my backup stock where I'm kind of watering down the sauce that got too thick, right? But it looks really nice at this point. So, all right. Hey, Annika, will you grab this? That one's ready to go for you guys. Maybe just put on a really low flame. Oh, those plates, chef, would be great whenever you're ready. Oh, sweet. Thank you. All right, big white plates. If you come to our restaurant, too, you'll see that our plates are really cool. I have one of my friends. She, thanks, chef. One of my friends, she hand makes plates for us in Eagle Rock. It's kind of cool. And the other ones we get handmade at a ceramist in Guadalajara. And so we love working with different handmade stuff. So for the presentation, so here's the sauerkraut, just sauerkraut, put a little bit of fish stock in there, just simple. Sometimes I'll put in the sauerkraut, I love coriander seed, cilantro seeds that are toasted, fennel seed. But I don't know, I'll put about 4 ounces, I guess. It's really important that it's really very, very steaming and hot. And sauerkraut's one of those things where the great thing about sauerkraut, I've come to find, because I've actually never served sauerkraut this way in a restaurant, is that as it sits in the steam table for service, it just gets better and better and better. So also, like, think smart when you guys are doing like a big event like this or doing a big batch. Like, I don't really want to come like massive pots of stuff, so I'll generally have like smaller pots. Just grab what you need.
Everyone, unless you have a question for Chef Bret, please be quiet so we can hear everything.
Chef Hot. That's the rest of the sauce. All right, and then I've got one of Annika's amazing plating spoons. Sorry, I need a little bit more. So I'll keep the potatoes kind of nice and tight towards the sauerkraut. Mix up the colors. I got these purple potatoes, the red potatoes, these fingerling, the beige ones. Yeah, 4 potatoes sounds pretty good. And then a good amount of the sauce.
Chef, when you're done plating, can you hold one of the plates up for the camera too?
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Yes, I'm using my hands. I don't feel anything anymore.
I was wondering about
I actually do have a really bad case of carpal tunnel now. I'm about to get a surgery, but I don't really have a lot of feelings in these 3 fingers right now, which kind of works in this case, but you know.
that. It was like,
Yeah.
you just touched it.
So these are called nasturtiums. They're so gorgeous. There's like, you know, and I generally just use the petals of this. There's red ones, there's orange ones, there's yellow ones. There's so many different kind of colors, and they're really great. If you've never tried one before, it kind of tastes like watercress, I guess would be the closest thing. And the leaves also, which look like little like lily pads, are also edible and delicious. I didn't grab too many leaves because they're kind of big. I like them when they're kind of small, but yeah, they're really nice.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Potato nage, fish, how she goes.
Potato nage, fish, and yeah, yep. And if you wanted to put like a little bit of you know, a tiny little black pepper on there would be nice. You know, it's kind of. That's it, you guys. What do you think? Cool. Yeah. So it's a really nice dish. It's funny. It's one of these dishes that if you order this dish at the restaurant, you like sauerkraut. If you don't know what sauerkraut is, I'd say 50% of the people are like, "Oh my God, what is this sour stuff under the, you know, this cabbage?" And people like really, you know, some people it's new for them. They love it. But yeah, it's a very interesting concept.
Chef, I have a couple questions from online viewers,
Yeah.
and then we can pass it around to everybody in class. So one of our viewers asked, what are your tips for balancing flavors of a dish? Like if you have any general flavor balancing tips.
Flavor balance. Well, I'd say the first thing that comes to mind is I'm always thinking about, you know, salt, acid, texture, fat. You know, and I say fat, I mean like, you know, olive oil or a fatty fish or a fatty meat or you know, if you're just doing like you know, even a vegan dish with you know, stuffed zucchini blossoms. Just thinking about how can you have a lot of textures. And I tend to cook with like a lot of acid, lemon juice, vinegar. I just like things to be kind of like, you know, pop. And so yeah.
Great. Another viewer asks, are there any underrated ingredients that more people should use?
Any what?
Any underrated ingredients?
Underrated ingredients. The first thing that comes to mind is lebne. Lebne is it's like it's basically like a hung yogurt. It's yogurt. If you take yogurt, like whole milk yogurt, and you put salt into it and you whisk it, and you put it in cheesecloth, and the water drips out, and the next day it's like this really, really, really thick yogurt. and salty. And we use that a lot for different sauces. I'll even like throw a spoonful of that in a sauce in a blender to kind of thicken it without actually using cream, but using yogurt instead. It's a great thing. Lebneh, Labneh, I think it's
Great.
spelled.
Thank you, Chef. Does anybody have
welcome.
any questions for Chef Bret? Can I pass the mic to anybody? Here.
Yes.
Chef,
Oh, yes, sir.
how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Notice you cook the way I was taught how to cook, which is sprinkle here, dash there, add this, add that. But the way we're being taught now to cook is we have to write our menu down and actually have programs so that it has consistency.
Yeah.
How do you gain consistency the way we cook?
It's a great question. Like, so basically how can I ensure that this dish is cooked consistently no matter what cook is cooking at the restaurant,
Yes.
right? At
Yes.
any given night.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, I do menu breakdowns and for every dish. So every dish we do will have a menu breakdowns showing exactly how much of each ingredient is in the dish and how each ingredient is prepared. So like for typical, this would say like 6-ounce fish, explain the fish. It would say how much sauerkraut we're putting in there, how to prepare the sauerkraut. But to your point, like, that's one of the challenges we have in a restaurant. It's like, I want to be sure that no matter if I'm there or if I'm not, that my sous chefs or my kitchen managers can ensure that the quality of the food will be exactly the same, whether I'm not there or I am there. Because, a lot of you guys, like, if you look at, like, say, scaling your company, right? Like, how did Kava sell 100 locations or whatever? Like, they figured out some way of making sure that the hummus at every location tastes the same, the pita bread's the same, the shawarma is the same. That's a challenge. And I think a challenge, nowadays, also with having, like, a finer dining restaurant is that it's, with margins getting smaller and smaller, you really you can't have a huge menu. So the smaller the menu is, say, for example, In-N-Out, right? In-N-Out burgers, like you have 5 things. It's kind of easy to execute those 5 things perfectly, as opposed to having a menu that's got 30 things on it and everything on there is kind of technically difficult. So communicating with the cooks as much as you can and giving them the tools, that you think they need to succeed is really, I think, the secret.
Any other questions for Chef?
Yeah, one over here.
Pass it up.
Got it.
Thank you, Chef. My
Yeah.
name's Esme. But I wanted to ask, you said you love to cook like with seasonal ingredients. Do you like to make dishes that highlight those ingredients, like seasoning it so it can emphasize that ingredient, or like seasoning it less so you can taste more of that ingredient? I guess is what I mean.
Yeah. So
Unless of adding so many seasonings, just salt and pepper to highlight the fish, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. So, like, yes, I try to use seasonal ingredients as much as possible. So, like right now, like we're gonna start doing more dishes with the zucchini blossoms, so like a dish we're gonna do for Easter is gonna be we're gonna stuff zucchini blossoms with like probably a mixture of shrimp and lobster, and then and then some kind of small pasta. I don't know, like orecchiette, like a little ear pasta or something like that. And then the broth will be very bright and green, probably basil, almost like a pesto-y kind of broth. So yes, I try to work with seasonal ingredients as much as possible because the more seasonal the ingredient is, generally has the most flavor. Like heirloom tomatoes in January versus August, it's like a whole different ballgame. In August, heirloom tomato is going to be like sweet as a piece of fruit, right? Where in January, it's going to be acidic. So you don't really need to do too much to that, right? So would I use less salt or less seasoning on that specific tomato? No. I'll still season it the same, but I'll always search for ingredients that are more seasonal just because that ingredient for sure will be a tastier ingredient. Like I recently had a really high-end meal. I won't say where, I won't say who did it, but it was like a melon prosciutto dish in January. I'm like, that's the dish you're cooking for this really, really important group of people. Why not, that dish would make a lot of sense in July, but why not choose seasonal ingredients, Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question, if anybody has it.
So how did how did you find that your expectations in European restaurants, how did those differ from restaurants out here? How did you reconcile those?
Yeah.
Did you have any things that you didn't agree with and things that
Yeah.
you took with you?
So like the difference between like European restaurants versus here in LA.
Yeah, and expectations that European
Expectations.
diners have too
Yeah.
versus American
Yeah,
diners.
it's a good question. I mean, the kitchens. So before I went to Europe, I worked for a guy named Joachim Splichal, who owned the Patina Group, and Joy and I worked together. And this guy was heavy duty. I mean, this guy was like trained with some of the best kitchens he was a sous chef at Hotel Negresco at 19 years old, like leading a team of 50, like at like a 3-star Michelin restaurant. This guy was like super heavy duty. He was very, very intense. So that's kind of all I knew from the beginning. So when I went to Europe, I was kind of used to that, you know. But in Europe, because I worked for a lot of like 2-star, 3-star Michelin restaurants, you know, I worked for a guy named Martin Aristetegui in Spain, who was like this really jovial, fun, laughing Spaniard who was always having fun and throwing things around the kitchen, but in a good spirit, right? Like, and then I worked for a guy, you know, another chef who was just like, I'm like, you look so miserable. Why are you doing this? But he was very famous and whatever. So, you know, it was generally intense. And I came back here, and it's funny because I sort of departed from the European restaurant scene in Los Angeles. And when I opened up Pez Cantina, oh my God, I met like all the like kind of high-end Latino kind of social people in Los Angeles and restaurateurs. And, you know, it was so fun, and like, it was always like just a party, and just a lot less like sure. And I don't know. So it just depends on, you know, and I over the years, I don't like to lead like by fear or too much pressure. I mean, I like to lead more like by just trying to be a positive leader. I feel like you can definitely get a lot more out of your staff that way, and you can also be happier, you know? Yeah. So.
I'm so sorry, Chef. Did
Yeah.
anyone not taste- wait.
Does anyone want a second round?
Do you guys like it? Like, what's your opinion? Yeah. I didn't cook that fish over there, so. Oh, but it was amazing, though. It was amazing. No, I was kidding.
Thank,
Yeah, do we call sauerkraut?
Yeah, there's plenty of sauerkraut here, you guys. Go for it.
thank you, everyone,
The-
so much thank you, everybody, for coming and listening to Chef Bret Thompson.
Thank you.
Yay. His restaurant, Pez Coastal Kitchen, is just down the street that way. So please
Thank you,
go
guys.
patronize it. And thank you to all of our
Thank you,
YouTube
everybody. I
viewers.
appreciate
Have
it.
a good day.
My car is over here. If you guys want to come say hi to the